Hello, welcome to Robyn's Roost. It's a little bit gloomy in here today. I could really use some better lighting, but you know what? I'd rather spend the money on stamps, right? So, hope you don't mind. Now, today we're going to be making a sweet as pie card. Hopefully, I have it the right direction, right? And it's kind of a time-consuming card, a little bit putsy with all the die cutting and the sponge daubing to get your crust brown just right. But it's like baking a pie. It takes time, right? If you want a really nice one that tastes great. So when someone gets this card, they're going to know you worked really hard on it, and you're only going to give it to those special people that appreciate it. So let's flip the camera and I'll show you how we make this. So here are the pieces that we're going to need for our sweet as pie card. So when you start, you're going to take a piece of cardstock and cut it so that it's 8.5, which is the one direction, right? And then you're going to cut it to 4.25. Score it at 4.25 so that you have a folded 4.25 by 4.25 square. Then you're going to take a 4-inch circle die if you have one. If you don't have a circle die, you can always use like a lid or a plate and then draw a circle around it and hand cut it with the scissors. But what you're going to do when you run it through the die machine is you're going to leave this hang over the folded spot so that you have a hinge. Then you're going to need 6 strips of, I'm using crumb cake, and these are, I think, 4.25 inches. The length isn't super important as long as it's long enough to go across your pie. And then they are 3/8 inch this way. You're going to need about 16 little leaves, and I have used the smallest leaf from the pansy die set. So it's this little leaf. So you're going to look for a leaf that's about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch tall from whichever die set you have. And then I also have a one of the layering circles die cuts for the inside. Now you wouldn't have to have it. This card is crushed curry, and it's probably light enough that you could see your images clearly on it. You know, it wouldn't be like your ink would fade into it. But I have a white layer for the inside, and then I have a little white piece for our greeting on the front. And that is going to depend upon, the size is going to depend upon your greeting, of course. Now, you're going to take, and I'm using crumb cake, so a brown color that matches your paper strips. And you're just going to crinkle them a bit because most pie crusts aren't like smooth and super flat, right? And then you're going to take a sponge dauber and just brown the edges a little bit with that matching ink in the same color as your paper. So you go ahead and do all of those, and when you're done with them, you're going to go ahead and do the edges of all of your leaves, because a pie looks nice when it's browned, right? Now that we have all of our pieces browned, we're going to go ahead and start to do our layering. So we're going to do 3 strips each direction across our pie for our lattice, and we want to do these in a weave, right? We're going to weave them across our pie. Now, you do remember that you're not going to see the edge, so you don't have to be super worried about getting perfectly to the edge or anything like that. I'm not very good at weaving here, you can see. So you can kind of lay them on so you know where you want them. And I like to keep my lattice where they cross towards the middle of the pie, because you're not going to see these very edges. They're going to have those leaves over them. So then kind of decide where you want them to sit. I'm going to take my liquid glue And I'm just going to start by gluing down one side. So then I'm going to put a little dot underneath where they're crossing. And like I said, you don't have to worry that the edges are perfectly on there because you're going to cover them up with your leaves. So then when you kind of have all the middle done, you can go ahead and glue down the final edges. And sometimes you do have to hold them down a little bit to get them to stick all the way. Once you have all that done, you can go ahead and trim off what's hanging over. Now you can see I don't have my strips completely centered, so it looks like a pie that I would have made. If you make your pies like perfectly laid out your lattice, make them that way on your card. Now when you're laying your leaves around, you can overlap them a little bit because your card is about 4 inches in diameter, right? And your envelope is like 4 and something, right? It's a little bit, it's big enough for a 4 1/4 card to fit in. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room here, but not a lot. So you don't want to hang your leaves over a whole lot. So you're just going to go around gluing the leaves down, overlapping them a little bit. Like I said, it's going to take about 15 or 16 leaves depending upon how much you overlap. So now we have our leaves all the way around our pie. So then we're going to create our decorations. Now there's just tons of things you could put on here. You could do some other leaves and color them. For this one, I have a fun pie themed paper pumpkin from, oh gosh, years ago. I'm going to use that. So I've got my stamps here. There's these little leaves and a Happy Thanksgiving stamp. There's You're So Sweet. They might have been from 2 different sets. And then this one, I'm going to have to read it to you after I stamp it because I've gotten ink on the back of it. So I'm just going to take some little scraps of Cajun Craze, Cherry Cobbler, Cajun Craze, crushed curry, and pumpkin pie. So I'm going to pull out my inks in the matching colors. And I think the Cajun Craze is most like the oak leaf. So I'll do one of those. And that's such a pretty color and so close to what oak leaves really are. And then I have a maple leaf here. And I think the maple leaf, you know how some maples are red, some are orange, some are more of a yellow. So I'm going to do that in the pumpkin pie and the crushed curry. Let's clean the stamp in between the color changes so we don't get our ink pad all yucky. Now, I love my paper pumpkin stamp library, but none of them have dies. So that means we have to fussy cut these. So there are our leaves, and we're going to do the You're So Sweet. And I think I'll pull in some black ink for that so it really stands out because you're really sweet. And you notice I'm just stamping this off to the side. I'm going to trim that up so that it's just a little rectangle. Now for our inside, let's see what this stamp says again. We'll do this in the black. And it's some kind of a fun, eat all the pie you want or something. I can never remember the saying. Okay. There's no such thing as too much pie. Okay, that's what it says. And then we're going to do the Happy Thanksgiving on here as well. And I think I want that in a different color. So we're going to do Cajun Craze. I'll go trim this up and then we'll lay these all together. Okay, so I'm going to open this up and let's put this on the inside. And then I've got this little space here. I'm going to tuck that in there. And let me just kind of see where I want to put my leaves. Maybe like that. Now we could pop this up. No, I think we're going to tuck it in. Pop, tuck, right? Just going to tuck it in right there. And let's pop these guys up. So you may notice that I am creating as I go, which I've done 3 or 4 of these cards. And then I did a class where I had about 15 people make them. And you know, everybody's card is a little bit different. So I make them different, and I see how somebody else makes them, and I take ideas from them. So don't try to copy my card exactly. Make it your own. That's the cool thing about handmade cards. Maybe I'll glue this one down flat. Now on my other cards, I did put a little bow of the pale papaya. It's such a pretty color. Let's see where we can put this on here. Just want it tiny. Do you love how you pull them tight and then they get bigger than what you want? Take out my ribbon scissors, and anybody who's been at my classes knows do not cut paper with Robyn's ribbon scissors, right? It's like a big no-no. Now, where are we going to put our ribbon? We don't want it to cover up our greeting, but I think maybe right there. That way it kind of has a wreath, or yeah, a wreath look too, as well. And where are my glue dots? Here they are. I did card class last night, so I have my card class downstairs in my rec room, and my stamp room, of course, is upstairs in a spare bedroom. And then everything goes up and down and up and down. It's a big mess. So I'm still a little bit unorganized today. So here we go. You're so sweet. It's our apple pie. And we open it up and it says there's no such thing as too much pie. Happy Thanksgiving. And wouldn't you like to get that card? It's fun to make too. So if you'd like to purchase some supplies to make this card, hop on over to my store of the link below. And however you do it, have some great times crafting.